Hello, dear one.
Hello.
I am the Queen of Dragons. I am the Dragon Queen. I walk among the dragons as one of their own, but I'm not a dragon. But I'm also not human. I am an ancient being that existed when the world was old, that existed in the first days of the earth when all beings were still in harmony and the veil was non existent.
That sounds like a beautiful time.
It was. Humans and dragons and the elementals, the elves and dwarfs and fairy creatures were balanced, and they lived together in their natural rhythms.
That sounds awesome. Do you think we'll ever get back to that?
Yes, humanity is on a good way. It will take another 2,000 years, but you are bridging and paving the way, and that time is coming again. There is a timeline. There are multiple timelines for humanity to reunite with the fairy beings, the beings that you know from fairy tales. They are always here, they are always present, but there is a veil, and the veil is getting thinner. And when humanity remembers the old ways and to live in harmony with their rhythm, then we will reunite again.
And I assume that you're talking about as a collective. What about on an individual basis? Because, like, I personally work with the fairies, and I have been trying to raise my vibration to match their frequency so that I am able to see them. Is that possible in this lifetime for me?
Yes, that is possible. You can start when you are out in nature. What fairy folk likes to do is disguise as plants, as the leaves of a tree falling down, or a stick cracking, or the wind blowing up the dust, or little insects that glimmer in the sunlight. So at first you might not see a fairy like you expect it to look like, but you might see insects that glimmer in the sunlight and leaves that fly a little bit too perfect.
I do see dragonflies a lot.
That is a sign.
Yes.
All those special little animals like dragonflies or grasshoppers or little lizards like salamanders. All those special animals out in nature are messages from the fairy folk.
Interesting.
And in general, everything that glimmers and shines in a not unnatural way, but when you're out in nature and something catches your eye and it glimmers and shines, that might very well be a fairy or a trick played on you by a fairy.
I love that. I have noticed seeing dragonflies and grasshoppers a lot more since I've started talking to them and working with them. And I take them chocolates and shiny things, and I go and I
They
made
love
them.
shiny things.
Yes. And they came in meditation and showed me how to make little beds for them. So I crocheted 2 beds that are hanging up in a tree where I go to talk to them. And
Oh, that makes my heart jump. That makes me very happy that you do that.
yes, I enjoy it. And I want to build that relationship with them, right? I have in my Lyran lifetime, I have an aviary that I created, which is like a fairy portal for fairies to come. It's like a school, a hospital, a resting place, and I have fairies tattooed on my body. I've loved fairies my whole life, and I'm really excited to build on that relationship.
You're on a very good way. I love hearing that. I get excited when I hear you speak about all the efforts that you make to connect with the fairies.
Mm-hmm.
They just need time.
Mm-hmm.
There's been so much bad things that were done to them, so it takes them a long time to trust
Mm-hmm.
and to truly show themselves. But they will definitely leave signs for you, like the animals that you are seeing.
Awesome. And I have a tattoo of a dragon too. I love the dragons as well. I have one that's with me. Her name is Nefrit, and we've worked together in multiple lifetimes, so I'm told. And she helps me with like amplifying energy, and we go for rides through space and stuff. But I don't know. I've gone to see the cosmic dragons, and we've had like dance parties and stuff, and they gave me a necklace, and it's been a lot of fun. I I would love to see a dragon in real life, in person, face to face, but I know they're much larger, and I don't think that it would be quite as subtle.
And don't you see them in your imagination and in your inner eye?
Mm-hmm.
That that is already like that is not your imagination. That is already you seeing them in this current 3D world that you live in. It is hard for them to truly tangibly show themselves to you,
Mm-hmm.
but when you see them inside your head, that is already seeing them. It's just a different. Hmm, she doesn't have the English word. It's just a different perspective. Yes, perspective seems good.
Yes, I understand. And I'm grateful for all of that as well. It's hard sometimes to, as a human, let seeing things with your third eye, seeing things in meditation, to allow that to be, I'm going to say this poorly, but to allow that to be enough, because it is, and I'm grateful for it, but it's hard, like, balancing that with the fact that we are here in these vessels, and we want to satisfy our 5 senses that we've been given with this limited vessel. And so, like, the human part of me wants to see them with my real eyes, and, well, my physical eyes, and wants to hug them and wants to talk to them, even though I know the language is not the same. But I it's hard for me to like rein that back in sometimes, because even with the extraterrestrials that I channel and that I see in meditation, like, I'm so excited to one day be able to meet them face to face, and I just want to hug them, and like to have that sight of them, to feel them, to have that extra, like, I know they're real, but to have that extra layer of just tangibility, right, is something that I look forward to, I guess.
I see dragons around you and I can sense them around you. They are definitely part of your life and they support you and they guard you and they guide you, but the time is simply not quite right. Dragons are sensitive creatures, and there has been so much energy work done to keep them out of this 3D world that you're living in right now that it takes a lot of effort. And I I sense that the energy is just still too mismatched for them to be physically here.
Mm-hmm.
They are returning and the veil is thinning, and the fact that you notice them and speak with them and do dance parties with them is a very, very good sign, and that is so beautiful, and they enjoy it very much. They want to be a part of your life, but the world that you live in is just not on the frequency yet
Mm-hmm.
for them to be fully here, and there are still too many people that would threaten them, that would kill them. The danger is too high for them to show themselves, even to humans that they trust.
Mm-hmm. And that's understandable. I totally get that. And I'm happy that they're
They
here.
are here and they are real.
Mm-hmm. So, what's it like being the queen of the dragons? What does that mean?
There was a time when all women were queens of dragons, and there were many dragons, and dragon queens didn't rule over them, but there was a very, very warm and friendly and family like connection. So, dragon queens were the women of, let's say, a tribe that had the most or the best connection with the dragons, that were able to communicate telepathically with them, and where the bond was just the strongest, and their task in the tribe of early humans would be to honor that connection and that relationship, and to partly live among the dragons and partly live among the humans, and to teach the humans the knowledge of the dragons, and to soften the dragons' hearts for the humans so that they would let other humans ride them, not just the queen that was able to communicate with them. Not all humans were and are able to communicate with dragons. It is a certain kind of frequency that is needed to communicate with them. And that is partly due to your DNA, but that is also partly due to your telepathic skills. And if you are able to be silent enough to listen so that you may perceive their their very delicate energy. I'm trailing off. What was your question again?
Just what it meant to be a queen of the dragon. You answered the question.
Good.
So, the dragons that I have been interacting with are cosmic dragons. And is there multiple kinds of dragons?
When you are talking about the cosmic dragons, they are not tied to a specific place on Earth. They are free to go wherever they want to, and they are free to work with who and what they want to work with. And there are dragons that are tied to a certain place on Earth. They are, hmm, I get the picture of certain places on Earth. There are ley lines and energy centers, and on these energy centers there are beings of all races. So there are dragons and elves and dwarfs and all kinds of giants, all kinds of elemental beings. This vessel does not yet have the full capacity of understanding to show her all the beings.
Mm-hmm.
But in these energy centers, beings from all races reside in order to protect those places and to harness those energies. They have a contract with that specific place. And dragons have a special bond with the land. They are very loving beings, and they have a very long memory and a very long lifespan. So partly these dragons have been at these places their whole life and the whole life of the earth. So they have been at these places for a very long time and have worked there with different dragon queens and with different beings that die naturally. And so they are still at those places, guarding and guiding and waiting to be discovered and to be spoken to again. They cannot leave this place. So they like to be visited. There are the cosmic dragons, and there are dragons that honor different elements. So, like the Loch Ness monster, there are dragons in the water, in the sea, in the lakes, in waterfalls. There are dragons of the earth that reside in mountains or in valleys or in earth structures, in caves. There are dragons of fire that reside in volcanoes. And there are dragons of the earth that are, not earth,
Air.
dragons of the air.
Mm-hmm.
And they are similar to cosmic dragons, but they stay on Earth, and cosmic dragons they're not bound to anything. But the air dragons are very sensitive to energy. So when you see a tornado or a strong wind, that is often their signature, and they arrive when something is going on energetically. But these are all like this is just, I'm just scratching the surface, but I feel like this is enough for this vessel to convey, because there is a lot, and for today this is enough, because she's already struggling to grasp.
That's okay. That was more than enough. So if somebody wanted to go speak to the dragons, to go visit them, how would they, like, you've given some good examples as to where they could be located, but if they wanted to go visit them and communicate with them and honor them and show them that they are there, how would they do that? What should they do?
Look for sacred places. All over the world, people either intuitively or because it is passed down from generation to generation have certain places, like a well or a really old tree or a special mountain that has a lot of legends to it. People usually know that these places harness a lot of energy. Oftentimes, churches have been built on these places. So go to these places. It is best to look for places, for sacred places that have some kind of element instead of it, and like not those church places, because building a church on sacred land dampens and um, kind of drowns those sacred energies. The energy of the church, it's like
Putting a blanket over top of
it's
it?
yeah, putting a blanket over it. That's a good picture. Yes, putting a
Mm-hmm.
blanket over it and smothering the sacred energy. But there are still a lot of places with wells, with caves, with mountains, an old tree, or the center of like a grove or something. And people know of these places. If you speak with older local people about special places, they usually know two or three. And then you can go to those places, or you can see where you are intuitively drawn to in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sit there and you meditate and see what comes up and intuitively ask with your inner voice to speak with the dragon that guards this place, and then just see what comes up.
I know that fairies, like when you bring them gifts, are dragons the same?
They don't need gifts, but they like to receive something that is from nature as well, like flowers or a leaf. So when you walk there and you come across a really beautiful stone or a really beautiful leaf, take that with you and place it on that place. They don't need food or something shiny. They like that you appreciate the nature around you, and they like it when you go on your walks with open and appreciative eyes. So when you bring them something beautiful you've spotted, then they are very happy. Don't pluck anything or don't like tear anything out. But when you see that something is already lying on the ground and you pick it up and bring it to them, they like that.
I see. Mm-hmm. So your vessel mentioned earlier before we started this recording that you were helping her kind of learn about sovereignty and stepping into her power. Can you explain any more about that?
Yes, dragon queens uh, are and were very revered by their community, and they had oftentimes great responsibility and were sometimes leading their tribe and their community, not just the humans, but also the dragons. And by leading, I do not mean the picture that comes in mind, like this warrior leading his soldiers. It was a much more loving leadership, and humanity is in general rediscovering loving leadership, and it is something that she needs to learn at this stage. It was set up for her to learn at this stage, and she's learning this by exiting gracefully from her work, from her job, and from the community that she's in. For some people in her community, she has been the leader, and it is time now for her to step out of this community and into a new one. And she has to do that with grace and sovereignty. it is not meant for her to run away. She has to learn to step out with grace. She has to learn to. So when you close a chapter, the way in which you close this chapter sends out energy. So she needs to close this chapter gracefully and lovingly with a loving energy so that the next chapter and the next community that she steps in will embrace her lovingly. And closing this with grace and love will make it easier for her to step on the next level. She's clearing out a lot of karma about escaping structures and running away. And this environment is triggering a lot of fear in her, especially now that she's waking up to her gifts. There's a lot of fear and a lot of doubt because her community right now does not, they're still very much in fear and they don't see the new earth and what is happening on earth. They're still very trapped. And that triggers a lot of fear in her. And this is a very important test to step into her sovereignty and to trust herself, even though everyone around her or many people around her don't understand her.
Mm-hmm.
And that is ultimately the path of the Dragon Queen. And that is something that you know as well, that you leave one community behind and you do that with a loving heart, and then you step into the next community.
Yeah.
And that is that is the way of the Dragon Queen. It is a little bit of a lone wolf position to be in, because you are the bridge between worlds. And like in the ancient times, the Dragon Queens know and hear more things than normal human beings, and they are very empathetic and also very diplomatic. You can speak with so many different beings, and that is a gift. But it can be very hard when the majority that you are surrounded by do not sense and feel the same and speak the same language, and you are bridging worlds. And that is something that this vessel is still learning, and that is why I am here and I am helping her. And a big part of this is trusting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
believing yourself, and believing in your own competence, and that what you are going through is not a mad dream, but that is truly happening, and you have a responsibility for yourself and for the spirit realm. And that is not something that normal human beings deal with. It is a special task that needs yeah, it, it's not normal, and it's not something that everyday people understand, and it can be very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm here.
Well, I mean, the same thing could be said for a lot of different like workers, not necessarily just the queens of dragons, but a lot of us
Yes.
on this path have realized that it can be lonely and it can be frustrating because we're so spread apart right now, because we are trying to create this grid around the earth and help as many people as we can just by holding the light. If we were all condensed into one place, the rest of the world would not get the attention that it needs. So we're spread out right now, bringing our gifts to the world, holding the light, being, the calm through the storm and all of that. And most people around us, I mean, even in my new community, like I don't know anybody who understands. One person I recently just met, who's not from here either, but most of them don't know what you're talking about. They don't understand. But that's the goal, is to obviously hold the light so that they can start waking up and start asking the questions and to learn. And it won't be this lonely forever, because once we go through this transition period where more people start waking up, and next step is going to be building these communities, right? So, and it's already even started in some places. So, and we're finding each other online. We're finding, like, we've found each other. She lives in Austria, I live in the United States. So even though it's lonely in the specific community that you're in at this moment, like, you still are starting to find other people who have the gifts, who you can talk to, who understand. And eventually down the line, like, everybody will be transitioning into that kind of mindset.
Yes, but it has also, in ancient times, it has been like this in communities, that there were only only a little group in that community, like maybe two or three, that were like you two, communicating with spirit so deliberately and so often. But there was a lot more understanding in the community that there were quote unquote witches or shamans,
I was just
and
gonna
that
say the
was
shamans.
just like a normal profession. But yes, the world is shifting and you are finding each other. And now it's just this one big soup of people, and the shamans and priestesses and witches and wizards are spread in the soup, trying to find them, trying to find each other. And it used to be a lot easier in ancient times with smaller communities, or in indigenous groups, when the communities were smaller and more understanding in general of the energy work. But there were always these people that had literally no connection to spirit, and were more the builders of the 3D structure, the builders of the village, the ones that the ones that fed everyone, killed the animals, or harvested and fed everyone and built the houses. There were always different archetypes of people that built the whole community, but this hatred of witches and wizards, and that magic is something for children and not existent, that is an evil that has entered this world. And that evil is making a last stand, but ultimately its time is over, and humanity is returning to the old ways. But it will still take time. And also with this vessel, she has days where she feels like, oh, humanity's already so far along, it's going great. And then there are days where she's like, we couldn't be farther from enlightenment. But that is humanity, and that has been it has been like this also in ancient times, that there are days where the monotony and the density hits more, and then there are days where it is easier to connect to spirit and to see the goodness in people.
Well, I mean, and that's part of being the bridge between worlds, right? Like, you have your people who are stuck in, we're going to use 3D and 5D for the sake of this conversation, because that's what we're going through now, but people who are part of the 3D world solely and the spirit realm, and those of us who are kind of in that in-between space where we are the bridge between worlds, we, even though they can't, or perceivably can't communicate with spirit, or don't know how, or don't understand energy, like that is why we are here, is to connect them to that other side and those higher dimensions. And part of the responsibility that we have is, as a bridge between the worlds, is to learn how to balance both, so that you don't have those monotonous days and those, like, I mean, it's going to happen, but it's all about how you react to it, right? So finding that balance between the worlds, being able to have one foot on both sides of the veil, and to be able to do that in a loving, compassionate way, is kind of part of, our growth and our purpose, right?
Yes, that, and also the hatred. There's still a lot of hatred in many hearts. Mm. And that is something that New Earth will tackle. So there are still many human beings that in this lifetime will not be able to work through all of their hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And there are human beings that are already very far on their way and working and processing hate and love very well. And that is why there is going to be a split. It has already started.
Mm-hmm.
And those that have so much hatred in their hearts will stay on the more hateful, more war-like timeline. And those that are actively working on themselves and on the hate and love ratio in their hearts are continuing or going about their lives on a timeline that where the war will at some point just run out.
Mm-hmm.
And then peace will come. It is not going to be a like snap and peace is here. It is going to be a transition.
Mm-hmm.
The wars will run out or thin out like water in a glass runs out. It is not going to be spectacular, like boom, and now all wars are gone.
Mm-hmm.
It will be in a way that people can cope. That they will stop one by one, and the more love that people feel in their hearts, the more peace there will be on earth.
Right. Well, I
And
mean,
then the veil can slowly thin more and more. All of this is going to be in a way that people can cope and humans can cope. Because if there is one thing about humans, it's that they are easily overwhelmed.
mm-hmm. And they don't like change very much.
Exactly. And so change, even for the better, has to come slowly and in
Mm-hmm.
digestible pieces,
Mm-hmm.
so that humanity can get used to peace and not restart the war out of feeling like they're missing an old friend.
Mm-hmm. And that's also the thing, like war and hatred are all very low vibrational energies. And as we ascend, as we raise the vibration of not only our individual self, but of the world, of, the collective, the it's like a sliding scale, right? The more love we have, the more compassion and the more we connect to our divine selves, the more war and hatred and anger will dissipate, because that low vibrational frequency just can't exist in those higher frequencies. So even though the collective is not all on the same page, there is, like you said, a soup of people all at different vibrations. So, but as the balance of the scale shifts, the for the light, the darkness equally will lighten its load as well. So it's going to be not like you said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be that slow sliding scale. As each person transitions to a higher vibration, those lower vibrations will slowly disappear.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's a process. I look forward to the day, though. I can't wait. But that's why we're here, right?
Yes, and we can't wait we remember, like, the memory of the ancient times of humans and elementals together. That memory is very precious to us, and it's a memory that is not lost and not forgotten. It has been buried for very long, but the fairy beings and the dragons, they have not forgotten the humans, and they cherish the humans, and they want to come back, and they want the relationship to work again.
Mm-hmm.
But everything has to happen at the right time. Right now it is still too dangerous for them, especially for the dragons, to show themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's still comforting to know that they're there, for sure.
Yes, and there are a lot more dragons than you think. They're getting stronger every day, with more and more people choosing love and choosing remembrance, and thinking maybe it wasn't all imagination when they revisit their favorite books when they were kids or teenagers.
Mm-hmm. Pete's Dragon was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Mm. Yes, children know so much more than
Mm-hmm.
adults.
Yeah. And that's only getting stronger as well with the children that are being born now, with the less forgetting and the veil being thinner for them, and their task
Yes.
of helping to build new earth and raise the vibration. And it's also very exciting.
Yes, they do not tolerate this level of hate and forgetting anymore. It physically pains them.
Mm-hmm.
It is it, it is hard for many of the children, and they have agreed to a very hard task, to be born with so much awareness at a time that is still so shaky, like now,
Mm-hmm.
with so many hateful forces, but also so much light.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a hurtful experience to many of the sensitive and aware little ones that are around.
Mm-hmm. We all have our jobs, if you will. We all have our tasks, our purposes, and they all have their own levels of difficulty, for sure.
Yes, and it is a how do you say, it is a shortcut to enlightenment
Mm-hmm.
in in a childhood state, or experiencing childhood and adulthood in these shaky times is a shortcut, and a quick starter, quick start. Mm,
They have a jump on the
a
remembering who
jump.
you are,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
where they don't have to go through a whole lifetime of perceivably suffering and pain. I use those words just because of perspective, but trauma, and they have their own issues, but most of them, from what I understand, are being born with parents who are more open and more understanding and are helping them learn their gifts and accept their gifts and not to hide them like we did when we were younger. And so it's slightly easier for them, but it's going to allow them to not have to go through the forgetting, the losing it, being told that it's not real, going through these long periods of time where you have these 3D lessons and this growth to forget about that childhood experience, and then trying to find it again, where hopefully, theoretically, ideally, they are being supported through the same period of time, so that they don't have to go through that forgetting and then refinding yourself. And they are going to, when they reach an age where they're old enough to, I they are making a difference in the world now, but when they are starting their own companies, when they are in charge of things, and they are old enough to be on their own and make decisions on how to change the world in a different way, building the new earth and building those communities and helping with the technology and the space programs and all of the things, like having that whole lifetime before that, all those years before that, in this loving, remembering state is going to be so beneficial for everyone. And it's definitely an important job, important purpose.
Yes. And they're unable to fit in. They simply cannot fit into the old system anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're either breaking the system apart or leaving the system,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself creates new systems. Both
Mm-hmm.
ways do.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So do
Is
you,
there anything?
I was just going to say, is
Yes,
there
go on.
any like message that you have for humanity while you're here? Because we've been channeling for almost an hour. So is there any kind of message that you have for humanity, for the world to hear?
Remember the old ways. Remember the sacred places. Read old legends. Speak with old local people and let them tell what they remember about old fairy tales and old legends. And keep the wonder in yourself alive. Walk in nature with open eyes and notice the glimmering, shimmering dust, or when, like I said, a leaf just falls too perfectly to the ground. Notice these little things. The fairy people and the dragons are everywhere. And when you want to connect with them, go in nature, try to speak with them telepathically. Go into caves or sit by a well, sit in the grass, or just look at the sky, whatever is possible for you. Look at the stars. Remember the old ways and connect with nature and with the rhythm of nature, and you will reconnect with the fairy folk and with the dragons. And especially the dragons are an important part in the new earth timeline because they have a very loving and delicate energy, and they remember the first humans, and earth is returning slowly, but it is returning to the old ways.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming through and chatting with me. I appreciate it.
I like chatting with you very much because you are also a dragon queen. You are one of us.
Well, thank you. That warms my heart. I'm getting goosebumps. I can feel the energy of it for sure. It definitely resonates. And I'm excited to be a part of that.
We are excited as well. Thank you for speaking with me.
Of course, anytime. I look forward to speaking with you again.